So this is a quick review for milestone number 1, Odoc. The first item, which is the login, of course. I can simply log in using the internet identity, and after I log in, I can create a file just like this, and I can rename the file test, and I can save it, and it will be stored in the backend. Now, the interesting part, we have a very nice text editor. We can change the styling, we can have numbered lists, and can have other type of lists. Maybe you can have a little bit of markdown like this one. The nice thing about this milestone is this payment contracts actually assign it to people, like you can assign $100 to someone. Right now, I just launched this and I have no people at all, so I will create another account for someone else. Notice it says please select a receiver, but the platform is empty. So I create a new internet identity, and when you log in for the first time, it will ask you to register your name and some of your information. I will just make it simple. Now it says name already exists, please try another name. So you cannot have duplicate names. So I will choose John. So that's it about the first two items. You can update your information. Maybe we can add a few more fields like birthdays, some other information. Of course, upload your photo, item number 3. I will choose my photo right here. The user should have friends and a social network. I created a primitive type of social network. Now this, when you go to all, you will find all the people registered here. So I can send them friend requests. I will send to all of them. Please note, I just removed my picture because it's a little bit heavy. Now I logged in as John and I can notice that he sent me a friend request. I can reject it or confirm it. So I'll just try to send $10 to John. It says insufficient balance. So even the backend, I tried to save this. I will get an error from the backend. If I go to my profile deposit, I have $100 right now. So in milestone 2, when you click on deposit, you will have pop-up and it will give you ERC20 address for depositing USDT. Now if I go back and try to save again, it is successful because I have sufficient balance. Create another contract for another person. You can see the front end is fine, it's heavy, and also I can save it. Now if I try to make another contract with even $1 to another person, says I need to deposit $1 more because I don't have enough balance. I have $200. Now about transferring the USDT of the chain. Now I logged in as James and you can see that I have one contract from Ali, which is on the other account right here. This contract just come from here. And if I click confirm, accept this contract, just wait for the backend. Yes, I will notice this shield here, and right here if I refresh the page, I will also see a shield with this mark. So that means this contract is protected because the other party, which is the other person, is confirming that, okay, I want this money. This is what he's saying. So if I cancel this contract, I could go here to my profile and cancel this contract. You can see this warning here, this shield here, and you can see the delete sign is not here. So I cannot delete this anymore. This will stay on my profile forever. So if I canceled it, the other people will see it as a confirmed and canceled contract. So I did not implement this until now because this can affect your rating, and this milestone does not include the rating yet. In milestone 2, we will work on the rating. So as you cancel this, it will successfully canceled and you can withdraw your $100 as Ali, but this will goes down and other people will see it. Now, in addition to that, I can actually release the payments. So I can release this and I can release this as well. Now, if I go to the other account of James and refresh, you can notice his balance goes up and you can notice this contract is successfully transferred. Now about point number 8, you already saw it, how when you create contract while you don't have insufficient fund, you cannot create that. And item number 9, as you saw, we was able to create a payment contract successfully. Now about the columns, I can add a few more columns. They can rename them, of course, and you can notice that I can delete this column and I can rename it. These columns, I cannot rename them, I cannot delete them because they are the contract columns. Now, last but not least, you have the confirmation, which we saw right here. So you cannot just click it and everything will go. You can have this confirmation and it will help you to secure your front end at least. Finally, I'd like to review the code. We have two main canisters, the user canister and the front end. The front end, you mainly have this Redux, and in the file you can understand what is going on, how we collect the data from the backend, and then we use all this data. That is basically how the front end connected to the backend. Also, we have the serializers, but the name is normalized, but it should be serialized. I could change this name later. Now, if you go to the user canister, first of all, you notice these small files with the same structure. Each one has mode, queries, types, and updates. The reason that I put these small folders is because later I could have a dynamic canister, which is this user canister. It could be dynamic canister, and this central canister, we can handle the main tasks. For example, the friend requests and the contracts, I could just drag them and drop them here in the central canister, and the storage, of course, we will have the contracts. It will go also to the central canister. The reason for that is because the contract store should not be owned by the individual user, because each contract is actually a public property that shows the agreement between two different people, so it's not owned by a specific person. But anyway, you could have two copies of the contract, one copy in your canister and copy in someone else's canister. So this user canister can have multiple canister. Each person will have their own canister. Now the problem is we could have multiple canisters, but there is data that should be shared between different users. So even the fact that we need to make two copies of this data in two different canisters, that will be a little bit challenging, because we could need to call two different canisters at the same time. So in the front end, we could have actor, for example, send a friend request. So we will have actor 1, and also we will have actor 2. Every time you send a friend request, it will be sent to two canisters, my can and the other person canister that I want to friend with. That could be a problem. I will explain deeper later, but now this is the introduction for the dynamic canister that we will have in second milestone. However, if you look at the contracts, it's basically structured in this way, but the most important thing is this part, the contract, store contract, which has the first type of contract, payment contract, and later we will have two more types of contracts. The payment contract, you can notice it has an ID, receiver, confirmed, very simple stuff, and you will have all the methods right here. And in the payment contracts, so you could notice something like this, delete payment contract directly with this delete for both. So maybe you're wondering why I don't like just take this code right here and here inside like this. And the reason for that, because I'm handling the data inside the methods and functions of the structs, but I'm handling other things like permissions. I will have later maybe few statements here. So I'm separating my functionalities into different places. The structs will have only the data manipulations, all type of CRUD functionalities inside here, and the if statement for permissions, for example, and other things like checking your balance, changing your score. So for example, I could have here another functionality. So such functionalities will be added in this way. That's why I have two different blocks of code, the structs, functions and methods, and the main update and queries. Now it is very interesting to see this multi-update function that take files, content, contracts, delete contracts. It take these objects and do multi-updates. So for example, you change the content of 3 different files. So every time you change a file, we will not send that data directly to the backend, but you change a bunch of files, like 3 files, 4 files, you change all of them and then you hit save, and all the 3 files will be sent to the backend. I will have loop function like this one update, and it will update one by one. So this is to save time, because every time you hit save, it will cost you some cycles. So I have this multi updates, or you can call it group updates. Now later, this this could change a little bit because, for example, this update, instead of looking like this, we could have it a little bit differently. So later, this user canister will call the central canister. That's why I didn't actually create the dynamic canister yet. Until now, I have one user canister, but later I will have multiple users after I determine my mind completely and understand how this should work, because I still have problem with that. And especially this looks a little bit ugly because I'm calling another canister from this canister, take more unnecessary steps. So I'm trying to engineer this to reach to some better solutions.